Now, it's a hard graft for people looking for a rental at the moment. All over the state, the rental market is tight. We have the tightest market in the country with a vacancy rate of only 0.4%. The state government hope their rental law reform will remove that pressure, but some feel greater change is needed. And so to make their thoughts known, they rallied at Parliament House calling for a fairer system. Independent member of the Upper House, Wilson Tucker, was among the protesters. Good morning, Mr Tucker. Good morning. Good afternoon. Oh, that's another coffee after do. Can you just paint the picture of the rally today?
Good afternoon, Ivo. Look, it was really to put pressure on the government to really try and increase pressure around renters' rights. Now, we are dealing with the tenancies bill at the moment, but there's really some only minor modifications and modest changes which really won't give adequate renter protection. So we're just trying to put pressure on the government, let them know that we're not happy with what's being proposed, and hopefully we can keep that pressure alive and hopefully make this an election issue, because renters can't wait another 4 years or until next term for adequate relief, given really how tight this rental market is currently.
What are some of the items you'd like to see introduced?
Well, the big one that I've been campaigning on is no grounds evictions. So that's when your tenancy expires and your landlord can evict you without giving a reason. So it's sort of this catch-all. It's used by some landlords to get around some protection provisions, and it's only used in a small number of cases, but a lot of renters are keenly aware of it, and a lot of renters feel they can't speak up, they can't voice concerns about the condition of a property, or in some cases they feel like they might be taken advantage of because they have this axe hanging over their heads of no grounds evictions, and they could find themselves being evicted, and given how tight this market is, find themselves homeless as a result.
Do you believe that there should be price caps on the amount of rent increases available to landlords?
Look, I'll probably let the Greens sort of talk about price caps.
Do you agree with it, though?
I think I like what ACT have done, where it's CPI, I think, plus 10%. The problem, I think, with some of the provisions that we have now around the number of times you can increase the rent in WA from 6 months to 12 months is we might be seeing just a 12-month worth of increases in one increment, which can actually be worse than if a landlord sort of spreads that out over 12 months. So look, given how tight the market is, I'm certainly open to it. I think we need to look at all options and lay them on the table.
I know. I saw today as well. The Liberal Party have put out a petition to say that these are not fair on mum and dad investors. What's your response to their petition?
Look, I haven't seen the petition, but when we talk about the investment market, I mean, there's a lot of other policies and subsidies that really incentivise people to invest in the property market. So when we talk about renters' rights, it's not something that really a lot of landlords are aware of in a lot of cases, certainly with no grounds evictions. But they're more interested in stamp duty or negative gearing as opposed to renters' rights. So the government has sort of taken this line that if we sort of move that needle too far toward renters and give them more adequate protections, in my view, then it could cause some disinvestment in the property market. But the government hasn't provided any evidence to suggest that this will be the case. And there is contrary evidence looking at other jurisdictions over east who have removed no grounds evictions, and they haven't seen that big disinvestment happening. So it's heavily skewed towards landlords in WA. This tenancy bill doesn't really do much to rectify it, and I don't buy into the argument that it will cause investors to disinvest.
Now, can you tell us about your story? Because you've had an interesting rental situation yourself.
Yeah, look, very very topical. I was given an eviction notice in the last couple of days. So using the no grounds clause, so that means my fixed term contract is not going to be renewed. I think I'm one of the only renters in WA Parliament. So look,
probably.
Yeah, so it gives me a little bit of recency to talk about this issue. But look, I'll be trying to navigate the property market, in the next, 2 months, and really try to compete with, thousands of people for a handful of properties out there in what is the tightest rental market in the state, or in the country rather. So, and as hard as that may be for myself, there are people in much worse situations. And so, it's very frustrating when we look at this bill as a silver bullet, because it's not. We need to do a lot more. The government has missed a golden opportunity to try and move that needle a little bit further towards rental rights and ensure that people who are renting feel safe and secure in their rental.
We are less than a year away from a state election. You did say that this could become a hot topic for the election. Would you like to see it front and centre? Because if it did get the traction that it needs, it could be a huge issue, because there are a lot of people who are affected by this.
Oh, look, absolutely. I mean, Tasmania took this to the election recently, and this isn't a fringe issue. There's 700,000 people who are renting, so it's just under 30% of the population in WA. And we know that given where housing prices are comparative to wages, there's a larger cohort, especially among younger West Aussies, who are just renting for longer and longer periods of time. And there is a cohort of people that don't feel like they can ever escape the rental market. So it is becoming people's long-term situations. We need to make people feel safe and secure in that environment. There's some minor changes in this bill which are good around pets and modifications to properties. But if you don't feel like you can stay in your property for a long period of time, and if you do raise concerns and upset your landlord for any reason, or they're trying to get around existing provisions using no grounds, then it all becomes a little bit redundant at the end of the day. So, look, yeah, it's not a fringe issue. I mean, it is a big one. It affects a very large percentage of the population.
Well, Mr. Tucker, thank you so much for joining us. It is a hot topic issue, and as a former person who worked for consumer protection for 18 years and loved the Residential Tenancies Act, and I used to deal with it every day, it is a hot topic, and it is something that I'm sure we're going to be hearing more and more as we come closer to that election. Thank you again for your time.
Evo, thank you.
That is Wilson Tucker there, who was at that rally today outside Parliament House. And I want to know from you, are you an owner or are you a tenant? Do you believe that needle is in the right place? Is it too far? One of the things I had all the time in consumer protection was that it's all about the owner, and then tenants would ring up and say, owners would ring up and say, it's all about the tenants. So where that line is. Do let us know, and also I want to hear about your songs of home